like, I mean, I saw this one post on like Facebook, where a guy was criticizing Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, of being a false one, of like being like of saying, of criticizing Prabhupada's whole his thing, Jesus was a Vaishnava thing. And I'm like, that's a pretty fair critique. I certainly think it's weird when thought it was weird reading about like seeing Vivekananda do a similar thing, and I just love the fact that I just look at that as cringe. Like it's kind of cringe in some ways. I get why they do it, is because they think that it'll get them brownie points. But you're just shooting yourself in the foot. The pagans will look at you, and the pagans would say, and the pagans would tell you that would just say, shut up. Like, why are you simping to the Abrahamics? But then the Christians will turn around and say you're preaching a false gospel. But you're absolutely right about a gospel which sounds similar, but isn't the gospel of Christ. But then again, you also have people who will say that you also will have people say that Paul taught a gospel contrary to that of Christ, which is you'll bring that up to the people making that fair critique. It might get, I don't know if they would really boil with anger bringing that up. Not to mention that if you looked at Christian, some of the Christian stuff, like the Book of Revelation, and you looked at some of the stuff in the Book of Revelation, that's taken from a lot of various places. Once you actually start doing your research, you find it elsewhere. And you could make the accusation that Christians themselves were already culturally appropriating other people's cultures to begin with. But, you can't have that discussion at all. But you can't have that discussion at all because, God forbid you bring that up. And you actually do some of your research, or have known people who've done their research on that subject. Like you can't have a discussion of those ideas. I just find it interesting when you see these sort of posts on like Facebook or X of like people people, and they probably might be oblivious to this stuff too. So it's like, it's like, yeah. And to be fair, if I had lived in a system for this long, that has been around for this long, I probably didn't do a lot of looking into it myself. And it's just I see this stuff and it's a fair critique at first. Then I look at it on my own and I'm like, I know enough about the subject to know how to just know, well, the Christians did appropriate pagan traditions, and and you're getting mad that Prabhupada appropriated Christ. I'm pretty sure, as I've stated time and time again, that Christians appropriated the imagery of Kalki, of the last avatar of Lord Sri Vishnu, and like, heaven forbid you bring that up around these people, because they'll just get mad at you for pointing that out, or they'll just kind of seethe with anger, because I don't know what they would do. But if you're really going to have like an actual discussion on that, then you probably should just read up on your religion, and read up on the religions that you're criticizing as false religions, and calling them idolaters. It's just silly. And also, Christians used to call pagan philosophers Christian. So it's like, you want to complain about pagans, Hindus calling a Jesus, saying that Jesus went to India, or that Jesus was a Vaishnava. Remember Christians also did a pretty similar thing with pagan philosophers, and it's like, it's just funny how it's okay to criticize one group, but how dare you criticize us, because we're the good guys. We're on the side of truth, and you're on the side of the devil. You sell a false gospel. One that is not the truth. So I don't know. I just think that's just silly. Maybe you should actually hold yourself to scrutiny on idolatry before you start calling them idolaters, because I'm pretty sure in this day and age there isn't a person who hasn't committed idolatry amongst Christians. Like, I'm pretty sure most people who claim to be Christian on the internet more than likely aren't Christians, and they're just chasing almighty dollar, almighty social media clicks, because and views, and it gets them the input. While my channel my channel hardly gets views. Like, my channel hardly gets views at all, and yet I say things like this. It says a lot about being a grifter, charlatan, poser, ass nigga on the internet, and how that will get you more views, and not the other way around. And what even is a heretical Christianity, to be honest? Like, isn't Christianity a bed of heresies that isn't the original definite article? Like, it wouldn't even be even nowadays considered the religion of the religion of like the founder himself. Like, everyone says things. Give me that old time religion. Old time religion. Old time religion. It's good enough for me. If you had that old time religion, if you saw that old time religion, you'd probably burn the guy at the stake for it. I'm just saying, you burn him at the stake for being a heretic, just like you call all these other groups Mormons, Jehovah's Witness. By the way, I'm not a fan of Jehovah's Witness, but I'm more of a fan of like Mormons. Mormons are pretty cool, but Jehovah's Witness, bleh. It's like you'd burn Peter at the stake for being a heretic or Paul at the stake for being a heretic because they wouldn't fit your conceptualization of what a Christian is. By the way, this is a leaflet video that I just so happened to click on, and it's like whatever. I can continue on with this video, and just include this little thing in there. It's really funny. The whole imposter Spider-Man. Point your finger at everyone, at the imposter, and they're all dressed like Spider-Man for God's sake. I'm gonna make that the thumbnail because that's every Christian denomination thinks the other denomination's a heretical denomination. Like, that's just the funny part about all of that. That all you guys, what gospel is a false gospel? Like, you guys attack even your fellow Christians, call them that those Roman Catholics preach a false gospel that isn't Christ, but all ya niggas preach a false gospel which is not Christ. And as I said with regards to the Apostle Paul, allegedly preaching the gospel, and I'm going to say allegedly because that's the appropriate thing to do, preaching a false gospel himself, a gospel which is not Christ. I mean, that's been the accusation. And I'm not going to make that accusation because I don't know much about the differences between Paul and Jesus enough, and I don't really care enough about that. I'm far beyond the point where I care too much about the whole, I'm not really caring too much about stuff like that. I've got a life, and I'm not too, that's way too autistic for even my liking.